My name is Olivia Ng. My family is from Hong Kong and Kowloon, and I currently live in California, United States. So I was born and raised in a really small town in Southern California, and I can really only remember about maybe 2 or 3 other Asian families growing up. I always remember getting, teased and bullied for the way that I looked growing up, especially my eyes. So the kids would always, pull at the corner of their eyes or, ask me, why are your eyes so funny looking? Why are they so slanty? It was also just, teasing about like the kind of food that we ate, or the way that, my family talked, the cultural practices that we had. I remember probably when I was in the 1st or 2nd grade, my mom was waiting with me at the bus stop. And there was this kind of pile of like scrap and wood and just things on the side of the street. And this little boy that was waiting as well at the bus stop picked up a piece of wood, this plank of wood, and he held it, like a baseball bat, and he swung and hit my mom on the back as hard as he could with it, and then yelled out, "Chink." The first thought that came to my mind was, oh, well, that probably wouldn't have happened if, we didn't look like this, or if we weren't Asian, or eyes weren't shaped like this, instead of feeling, concern for my mom. And while I knew that wasn't a normal reaction, and I didn't know, the words to describe what I was feeling in the moment, I began really internalizing, just that there was something inherently wrong with me, wrong with us. And that manifested in a lot of different ways growing up. One of those things was I would try to literally like tape my eyes to make them look more Western. I would try to kind of change the way they looked to, to fit in, to assimilate, to look more what was presented to me as normal and acceptable. Not wanting to learn the language or, bring the food to school or listen to the cultural wisdom, that my mother had to share, or her medicinal wisdom about the, plants and herbs and things that she would, make for us growing up to help us heal or when we were sick. Anything that was associated with the culture, I just really wanted to push away. Maybe if I can distance myself from it, I won't have to deal with the pain and hurt that came with feeling, like an outcast or othered. I think part of what influenced this was also being a minority in town, and also just not knowing how to bring it up or talk about it with my family, or not having spaces outside that to express how I felt, really process that struggle and those challenges. Even though I had a very diverse group of friends at school, and we, came from various and different diverse cultures, I think all of us went through a lot of these types of struggles, in our own way, relating to our own culture. And also, I just didn't see a lot of representation of Asian people growing up, in whether that be like in the movies or on TV, in ads or things like that. If and when I did, it was always this, stereotype of what we were expected to be. It was always this kind of like caricature of what others from the outside thought of us. I didn't get that message that it was okay to celebrate, where I came from, what we looked like, what we practiced, the type of food that we ate, the language that we spoke, how we sounded, all of it. Not only accepting, but celebrating my scar story related to this has definitely been an ongoing, lifelong journey. A lot of healing has taken place in being able to have conversations with other people who had similar experiences. When I grew up and got older and moved away and lived in different, towns, more diverse towns, and meeting other people, that looked like me or had, other experiences to share, I think that was also a very healing experience, to feel that I wasn't alone. I think one of the greatest blessings is having always been able to turn to art as a therapeutic outlet to process a lot of these struggles and challenges and internal conflicts, within myself. I feel like I can express myself and, really just embody who I am, and feeling safe in that space to just express and just be who I am. Meeting and seeing and engaging with other Asians in different community spaces and seeing that as an example of what's possible, not only in terms of like, the type of work you do, but the spaces that you're able to create in. Another huge aspect of my healing has been a Buddhist practice that a really good friend of mine introduced me to, and that has absolutely transformed my life. And there's this concept in the practice of turning poison into medicine, and that being translated into creating value from any struggle, big or small, that you might encounter. Just this past year, I committed to really learning about plants and medicine from my culture, which has really brought my mother and I a lot closer together. Or back in the day, I used to just push all of that away, and any of that wisdom that she wanted to share with me, I just wasn't open to hearing it. I'm an adult now, and really wanting to learn and make up for that time, that I've lost. She's still so willing and open to share anything that she knows about it, which she learned from her mother, and her mother learned from her mother, which has been, passed down, this intergenerational knowledge that I know that I took so much for granted all these years. And I'm really trying to really dig into it and really understand it and be able to pass that on to my own children, in the future. I'm just so grateful to have, to be able to develop this bond with her, after all these years, and really connect back to my culture in that way. And also my sister is currently a news anchor, producer, and editor. So she's, this representation that we never had as children growing up, and that's, I'm so proud of her and the work that she does. And also just always inspired by my father and the struggles that he had as an immigrant coming, into the country. His first stop into the country was in the South, in Alabama, and he has a lot of struggles that he definitely overcame with dealing with a lot of racism and encounters that he had when he first arrived to this country. So I'm always inspired by the way that he just has opened these doors, for my sister and I to also have so many more opportunities, than he ever had as a child. One of the challenges that I still really have to push through is, when I come across some really deep ignorance that trigger a lot of these childhood memories and experiences, So one example is was going through this whole series of surgeries to fix a congenital spine defect, and when the nurse asked me, why are you having this surgery? What are you in here for? And when I told her what it was for, her response was, oh, okay, so basically you just have really bad genes. That was like immediately right before I was getting wheeled into the operating room, and I just remember getting wheeled in and just like sobbing, and all these feelings again of feeling inadequate, or like that there was something wrong with me. All of those feelings just came flooding back during this whole coronavirus pandemic that we've been in, and the kind of notion that anyone of Asian descent or that looks Asian basically has the virus or brought the virus over. So I've experienced many different situations where I also felt like I was being, blamed or attacked. Witnessing and seeing and hearing about those things definitely challenged me to push through those old feelings that, there's something wrong with us, or there's something wrong with me. I think all of these experiences have definitely created a deeper sense of empathy, compassion, and understanding. It really makes me understand and also question, what is really important in life. That saying, create what you wish existed. And I think that's something that I'm always striving to understand how to do, for other people. How do I create those spaces that I wish existed when I was a child, to be able to fully embrace and be myself. I really wish for everybody to have the freedom to feel like they can be honored, valued, and accepted, and that they're important, and that their voice and their story is important, and that their life is important. I don't think that standing in your truth or embracing your story necessarily means that you have to be, the loudest voice or the loudest person in the room. But most importantly, that what you are expressing really embodies and embraces your honest truth. Our stories are our own to write, and so if we don't take hold of the pen and write it ourselves, then we're basically giving away our power to somebody else to not only write it for us, but rewrite it, edit it, erase it, and just completely shift and change what that is. It's really important that we take that pen or that power to tell our own stories. You might not like how your story started, but you always have the power to continue writing it and ultimately finish your own story.